Hamilton's call for huge change. YouTube, if there's anything we've learned from the last two races, it's that F1 race cars aren't good for driving when there's lots of rain on the track. This wasn't a problem in past seasons, but it seems like the people who run F1 are being way too careful about rain. This makes both F1 drivers and fans mad about how the races end up going. So the group that speaks for all the drivers has asked for a change, and it seems like one that would make total sense whenever it's raining during races. The Singapore and Japanese races have shown us that rain is really a huge problem when it comes to racing in F1. Even though F1 fans used to get excited to see rain in past seasons because it made surprising things happen and many underdogs would score points when other drivers spun out. Now rain almost always means that the track is going to be stopped completely. Both of those races got delayed because of heavy rain, and the rule that says a race has to end within 3 hours from when it starts have made F1 fans angry because they have to watch a shortened race because of the rain. This is why the F1 drivers have asked for a change, and according to the drivers group, these changes need to happen right away to bring back the excitement in this sport. All of the F1 drivers have said that they know what they're dealing with when they're on track, and there are only a few times when they just can't race because of really heavy rain, like last year in Belgium and this year in Japan. The problem is more about not being able to see clearly, which really affects how well drivers can judge what's happening on the track. We've seen that one driver named Gasly almost got badly hurt when he ran into a recovery truck that was on the track. Right now, when the race gets stopped because of rainy conditions, the F1 safety car checks how much water is on the track and tells the officials whether it's safe enough to race or not. But according to F1 drivers, this isn't a good way to do it because the amount of water spray it kicks up isn't the same as the amount of spray that F1 cars kick up behind them. This can make races take way too long to get started again, and besides that, fans and TV announcers get the wrong idea that the conditions are much better than they really look on track. So the start of the race could be moved forward when the conditions out there are nowhere near safe. And we could see accidents like last year's Belgium practice accident with a driver named Lando Norris. There have been talks between members of the drivers group after what happened in Singapore and Japan, and a new idea called information laps has been thought up and brought out into the open. What does this mean? It means that F1 cars would be allowed to drive for a few laps either by themselves or behind a safety car at certain times during rain delays. In the end, the F1 drivers are going to be the main people who decide whether to race or not, as it should be. Race control would get direct feedback from the drivers during and after these so-called information laps, and based on what they say, the race directors would be able to decide whether the track is safe enough to go racing or not. According to Alex Wurz, who is the chairman of the drivers group, these information laps would be a really helpful tool when it comes to the feedback the people who run F1 will get about track conditions. That way the public, both at the track and watching on TV, will have a clear understanding from the drivers themselves whether or not the track is too dangerous to go racing on. The race director should have the option for what I call information laps. So he could say, if the teams agree to this plan, that in 10 minutes, we will send the cars around like going to the starting grid. On this lap, the drivers would all see what the conditions were like. We could have 20 opinions from the 20 drivers who put their lives at risk, and then it's a much smarter decision for the people who run F1. From what the drivers said, we all know that the track officials are the ones that have a huge influence on whether the track is safe enough to race or not. And according to Wurz, the information laps will have a huge benefit when it comes to these officials getting feedback on what they're hired to do. It's also better for the track workers because they will know if they can see the next worker station. If you can't see the next worker station, you shouldn't really drive because you wouldn't see an accident in this white cloud of mist. So with these information laps, the track workers can also tell about conditions. The race director will get a better informed picture, and all the millions of viewers around the world can see for themselves what it's like. Why is this change needed? As we mentioned earlier in this video, when there's heavy rain on the track workers are sending the safety car on track to judge the conditions and see whether or not it's safe for the drivers to keep racing. However, the safety car doesn't make the same amount of spray as the F1 cars, which gives a wrong impression to all F1 fans and track workers. According to Wurz, this was really obvious at the Japanese race. He added that when you see the safety car driving by itself with little spray and the guy has fun and goes all over the curbs and controls his sliding, it is completely and totally different than when you suddenly send the 20 cars out. So this is the difference. Where did the drivers' group get this idea from? Well, it seems like Lewis Hamilton is the main guy to thank for these actions of the drivers' group. And according to Wurz, what he said during the Japanese race completely changed the idea of how to judge whether or not a track is safe to drive. It came when Lewis said that he can tell you in a minute what conditions are like just by driving out there. He can't tell you if he's watching TV. I thought, oh my God, he's completely right, but this requires a change in the rules and the process. And this needs to be made available very quickly to the race director. So is there a chance that we'll see this idea used in the future? It's unlikely that it will happen in the rest of this season since we only have 4 races left, and by the time it's brought up to the people who run F1 and possibly voted on, it's likely going to happen in the 2023 season if it gets voted on. According to Wurz, the idea of information laps has only been talked about inside the drivers' group, and although they are all excited about this idea, it needs to be brought up to the people who run F1. We're all definitely excited about finding a way because we're here for our safety, our sport, and our fans. We just want to make sure that our fans understand and they don't suddenly think we're all wimps. It's not about being called names. We are the crazy ones. We have to think about safety. But if you realize that we don't see the other cars, then you respect the decision of a delay much easier. I know from the chats that we had during the race, during the red flag and after. Japan was a reminder of when the weather is gray and the background is gray and you don't have bright advertisements on the side, then suddenly you don't know where you are. There are going to be some changes that have to happen if these information laps are going to be used, such as fuel usage and counted laps. But according to Wurz, all of these problems can be fixed easily and it's for the good of the sport. Rain has caused huge problems not only for the safety of the drivers but also for how much time the drivers actually spend on track. The rule that says a race needs to be finished within 3 hours total from the starting time has brought shortened races in Monaco, Singapore, and Japan, and many drivers have said they're worried about how much time drivers actually spend racing, according to a driver named Daniel Ricciardo. F1 needs to be more flexible with start times when rain is involved. He added that we want to race. I wish we could do it differently. I know it's easy saying it now, but we knew this rain was going to come. It's like 2014, if you bring it forward. An hour, maybe we get 20 more laps at the beginning and you can still make a race of it. That's where, again, let's try and learn something from this. I know there's TV and everything. There's a big part of it, but in the end, we want to have a race. What do you think about the new suggested changes in F1? Do you think that the information laps are going to happen from 2023 onwards? Let us know in the comments below. Want to know more about F1? Click on the video on your screen